Hello and welcome. We're going to talk today about something that really gets to the very core of who we are, and that's the health of our inner person, our spirit. We're going to dive into what it really means to be broken in spirit, and maybe more importantly, how God can bring healing to that deepest part of us. Let's just start with this profound question from the book of Proverbs. It paints such a clear picture, doesn't it? It says that a person's spirit, their inner strength, can actually carry them through physical sickness. But then it asks, what happens when the spirit itself is the thing that's broken? Who can bear it? That question really hits home because it speaks to those struggles that feel completely overwhelming. So before we can really unpack what a broken spirit is, we've got to get on the same page about what the Bible even means by spirit. And this isn't some, floaty, abstract concept. It's actually a really fundamental part of how we're designed. Well, the original Hebrew word that's used here is ruach, and it literally means things like wind or breath. But it's really getting at this idea of a force, an energy. Think of it like this. It's the passion, the drive, the emotional engine that you do life with. It's your vitality, your get up and go. And you can just feel the difference, can't you? This brings us right back to that proverb. When your ruach is strong, you've got this inner resilience to face whatever life throws at you, even serious illness. But when that inner fire is dampened, when your spirit is crushed, even the smallest everyday burdens can feel like you're trying to climb Mount Everest. It just takes the wind right out of your sails. Okay, so that brings up a really important question. What causes this? What are the things that can actually damage or even break this vital part of who we are? As we look at scripture, we can see that this kind of deep pain can come from a few different places. You can kind of put these wounds into two big buckets. On one hand, you have what we could call non-moral evils. These are the hard things that happen that are really nobody's fault. A natural disaster, a sudden illness, a terrible accident. But then there's the other bucket, moral evils. And these are the wounds that are inflicted on us by the choices of other people. Things like betrayal, abuse, cheating, a willful harm. And both of these can be absolutely crushing to the human spirit. And these wounds, they can hit us in a couple of different ways too. Sometimes the blow is acute. It's sudden, it's sharp, it's a life-changing event that happens in an instant. A tragic loss, a deep betrayal. But other times, it's chronic. It's not one big event, but a slow, gradual wearing down over time. Maybe it's years of criticism or abuse, or just carrying a burden that's way too heavy for far too long. Now, here's where this gets really interesting. I want you to see how Jesus himself kicked off his public ministry. And what's fascinating is that the story is told to us by Luke, who, as you might know, was a medical doctor. His perspective here is just priceless. So Jesus, he stands up in his hometown synagogue to announce his mission, his whole reason for being here. And this is the part of Isaiah he chooses to read. Now notice what Dr. Luke makes sure to highlight. Jesus says he was sent to heal the brokenhearted and to set at liberty those who are oppressed, a word that can literally be translated as the bruised. You see what's happening. For Jesus, healing the inner person, the spirit, that wasn't just item number 7 on a long to-do list. It wasn't an afterthought. It was the main thing. It was his top priority. Luke, as a physician, would have understood this completely. He would have seen so many people whose physical problems were connected to a deeper hurt inside. Jesus knew that to make a person truly whole again, you had to start by restoring their ruach, their spirit, their passion for life. If we really want to understand healing, we also have to be honest about what causes the wounds in the first place. So let's get a little more specific and look at some of the common pathways the Bible shows us can lead to this kind of brokenness. The scriptures point out a few really common ones. First, there's reproach, that constant drip, drip, drip of criticism and blame that just wears you down. Then there's the sharp, sudden pain of betrayal, especially when it comes from someone you thought you could trust. Sometimes it's just plain neglect our own spiritual life. Other times it's the heavy weight of guilt that comes from our own sin. And of course, there are those sudden, severe tragedies. And finally, there's just relentless pressure, trying to carry burdens that were never meant to be carried alone. Okay, now let's shift gears, because restoring a human heart, well, it's not easy work. It's not a quick fix. But the Bible shows us just how incredibly valuable this work is to God, and that He Himself is the great physician who does the deepest healing. Just listen to this beautiful promise from Psalm 147. It's so direct. It doesn't say God gives us a manual for how to heal ourselves. It says He heals the brokenhearted. He binds up their wounds. This is a personal, hands-on, tender work that God does. And then, in the very next verse, the very next breath, The psalmist says this. He goes from the intimate, personal care of a broken heart to the mind-boggling scale of the cosmos. He wants us to connect these two things.
Do you see the incredible point he's making? The same God whose power is so vast that he can create and sustain every single star in the universe. And not just that, but he calls them all by name. That very same God is intimately and personally focused on the details of your broken heart. Your pain is not too small for him. It's not lost in the crowd. It has his full, powerful, and loving attention.
But we have to be realistic about what this divine healing often looks like. It's not always a lightning bolt from heaven. More often than not, it's slow, it's quiet, it's unspectacular work. It's like gently fanning a smoldering wick, trying to get a little flame to come back. It's about patiently tending to a bruised reed, making sure it doesn't snap. It means walking with people through their pain for as long as it takes. And this is where we come in. This is where the church becomes so vital. A huge part of this healing process happens inside of a community. People's spirits heal and get strong in an environment of belonging, acceptance, and love. It's kind of like how your body might feel better if you move to a place with cleaner air. Well, our spirits naturally start to heal and strengthen when they're in a church family that provides that safe, life-giving atmosphere. So as we wrap this up, let's take this from just being information to being about transformation. Jesus said of himself that he would not break a bruised reed. So let me just leave you with this question to carry with you. Whose bruised reed, whose fragile spirit, can you choose not to break this week? How can you be God's hands and feet and be a part of his healing work in the life of someone around you?